Spark the Electric Jester 3 is a brilliant 3D platformer that greatly improves upon the sequel series Spark 2. It introduces new ideas and mechanics to the series, as well as improves upon the old ideas of this franchise, such as the combat, level design, and overall gameplay that I'm happy to discuss with you in this video. Without further ado, let's begin. When it comes to the main gameplay style of Spark the Electric Jester 3, one word comes to mind, and that is action-packed. Being inspired by the likes of Sonic Adventure and other 3D platformers at the time, Spark the Electric Jester 3 takes on the style and appearance of early action-packed 3D platformers, while polishing and improving upon the genre's crucial aspects to perfection, and removing all of the harmful baggage that are associated with them otherwise. What I mean by this is that Spark 3 is able to capture that essence and nostalgia that 3D platformers at the time are known for having. With its excellent level design, tight controls, and absolutely gorgeous art style, Spark the Electric Jester 3 is almost guaranteed to pull you in and take you for a ride through this extravagant and creative world. Even die-hard fans of platforming games will find something new and refreshing to discover in this amazing fast-paced adventure. The main consisting traits in Spark 3's gameplay, which makes the game so addicting, can be divided into 5 groups: the amazing controls, the nice stage progression, the amazing level design, the addicting combat, and the variety of gameplay. When it comes to controls, Spark the Electric Jester 3 has some of the smoothest and tightest controls that you can find in any 3D platformer. The physics on all of the characters in the game are extremely satisfying to play with, as you build up speed through momentum by traveling across curves and slopes in the game's level design. Though you are able to reach incredible speeds through this game, you are never out of control of your character, as slowing down and turning is as simple and as smooth as your traditional racing game. That being said, the characters you control still feel like actual people with weight and mass behind them. And this is important, as the physics not only allow these characters to reach impeccable speeds, but it also allows for some seriously tight platforming as you go through the levels. It is incredible how this game's controls allows for the perfect mix of platforming, speed, and exploration. There's just one final aspect of the controls that puts the cherry on top in terms of how satisfying the gameplay is, and that is the addicting combat. The Spark series has always been known to add combat into the mix with its platforming, but this time around, it is way more refined and polished than any other Spark game in the series. Though it doesn't have as many power-ups as seen in Spark 2 or Spark 1, the amount of detail and combo variety in the combat makes up for it greatly. Spark is able to string together combos way more effectively with more variety this time, with juggling combos, character switching, and overall more satisfying effects and gratification that you get from engaging in combat in this game. And although there is not nearly as much power-ups as seen in the first 2 games, only one being the Reaper Jester, the combat makes up for it with its variety, its more polish, and its overall satisfying nature. On top of the base Jester moveset and controls, there is a shop in the game which you can buy power-ups and upgrades to your base moveset. Shop Below's store allows you to buy upgrades such as laser beams, speed dashes, new moves to add to your combo list, and much more that I will not spoil in this video. But all of these upgrades, all of the amazing combat systems, and all of the amazing controls would mean absolutely nothing if you didn't have absolutely amazing stages to run through. But thank goodness, lakefeperd has provided this time, as the levels in Spark the Electric Jester 3 are something truly to behold. This time around, the stages have ditched their overall linear progression and feeling for more open-ended and sandboxed level designs. This allows the stage progression to feature more open-ended level design, and it actively encourages the players to explore through these massive worlds. Each of the stages also have amazing art aesthetics and are truly eye-candy to behold. What Spark 3 lacks in graphical fidelity, it makes up for with strong art direction and style. This time around, Spark the Electric Jester 3 doesn't have a traditional level progression, but instead opts for a more area-to-area basis with a myriad of different levels scattered inside of those mini areas. What I mean by this is that the game is split into 8 main areas that you travel to. Terminal Village, Dryon Desert, Protest Prison, Protest City, Historia Hysteria, Stratoria Interstellar, Pacific Abyss, and the final level, Utopia Shelter. Those last two areas in the game are the only two that feature one level each, with all of the other areas featuring a variety of creative and unique stages. This variety in overall content is a huge expansion from the other two games, and the amount of content in this game, without 100%ing, is sure to last you a ton of time. I know in my first playthrough of the game, I was surprised by just the amount of content this game had for a speed-based platformer, with apparently much more to come in the form of DLC in the future, so be on the lookout for that. With the stages themselves, many of them have varied goals such as get to the end in a certain amount of time, get enough exploration medals, which are medals that you find by exploring throughout each world, or even get a certain amount of score by destroying enemies. These varied goals in each stage keeps the gameplay refreshing, as it gives you something new to do and look out for in each stage. The final aspect of the gameplay I want to mention before I move on is the vehicles. Spark 3 has many sections in the gameplay, or even whole levels, that are dedicated to you controlling these various forms of vehicles. While many of these vehicles actually improve the gameplay and don't detract from the overall stage at all, some of them can be a little buggy, and sometimes these sections can drag on for just a little bit, but overall they are really fun and engaging to enjoy. Though the amount of variety of levels in this game is something to note on, I will not go into detail for those individual levels in this video, as it would make this video extremely long. Just know that each level is packed full of amazing stage gimmicks and a variety of enemies that are sure to test out your combat skills. Now on to the next major aspect of the game, which is one of my favorites, and that is the music. The original Sparky Electric Jester's OST went for a more 16-bit retro style aesthetic, while the second game went for a more big band orchestral style of music. This time around, the style of Sparky Electric Jester 3's soundtrack goes for a more hard rock and techno style beat. While being much shorter this time, each song in the game has its own style and flair that adds greatly to the feeling of traveling through these levels. I'd even go as far as to say that each accompanying music in the stage greatly enhances the fun and enjoyment that you get out of them. That being said, the soundtrack doesn't hesitate to show its range and get more emotional for heavy parts of the plot. There are many times in this game where I was surprised at just how high quality some of the music in this game can get. It is definitely an improvement from Spark 2's OST, though I think Spark 1's is overall the greatest one. The Spark series in general is always known for having really good music, so just know that this time around, it's as great as ever. Not much to say on that, but some of my personal favorites include Hysteria Historia, Stratoria Interstellar's level theme, and Protest Prison's level theme. Those songs just go way too hard. Now on to the final and equally important aspect of the game, the story. Sparky Electric Jester isn't known for having the most serious story of all time. Though they are pretty fun and engaging, I wouldn't say they're necessarily well written. That being said, the overall narrative of the games started to gradually take themselves more seriously with the installment of the second game, Spark 2. That game's story had an overall more serious tone, with the titular character Fark being the main focus of the game. Although I had many problems with the game's story and execution, mainly the presentation of the cutscenes, I believe that Spark 2's story, while pretty lacking in some areas, is overall satisfying and has pretty of hype moments to look forward to. Now on to Sparky Electric Jester 3's story. While going over it, although it has many of the same problems that I didn't like about the direction of Spark 2, I can say that the presentation is overall leagues better than Sparky Electric Jester 2. Though the way the story is told can get a bit annoying with the abundance of these retro-style TV cutscenes that are played throughout the game, the only real reason for this annoyance is because the actual animated cutscenes in the game look so gorgeous. Seriously, I am really impressed with how good the animation for these look for an indie game, and I can tell that a lot of hard work and effort went into making them. The facial expressions and overall model animations are a lot more polished this time, to say the least. With Spark 2 having an issue with its stiff movements and overall uncanny feeling, Spark 3 has nice, smooth, and fluid animation, and it allows for a lot more expression to the character designs, which I will say are brilliantly made this time. My only real gripe, which I'm sure will be fixed in the future, as many people have pointed out, is that the dialogue in these cutscenes are pretty hard to read and they go by too fast with you not having a button tied to how fast they move. Please note that past this point in the video, I'm going to go over spoilers for Sparky Electric Jester 3's story. You have been warned. Now when it comes to Spark 3's story, most of it comes towards the end of the game with the final area, Utopia Shelter. This is the last level in the game, as well as being by far the longest level out of the entire franchise, with my playthrough of the level taking at least 25 minutes. In this level, you will find something that tests each of your skills that you have learned up to this point, as well as a newly implemented live system that has not been seen throughout the entire game, which came as a complete surprise to me, being that there are no live system out of any other Spark game ever. Once you get through with this giant final level, you make it to the end sequence where you meet Clarity, the main antagonist for this game. For those of you who aren't caught up with the lore, watch this video for more information about what has been going on in this entire universe, but I'll give a synopsis right here. Spark Electric Jester 3's story takes place after Fark kills Freon. Fark, for those who don't know, is Freon's son that was made to look in Spark's image. Fark is then tasked with the goal of eliminating Clarity from Luna, the planet they live on. He takes control of all communications and basically becomes the leader of the world and planet, and forms what is known as the Fark Force. Their symbols can be found all throughout the game's level design and aesthetics. Many of the citizens of Luna, the Formies, aren't really happy with the Fark Force, as they basically take their rights away and eliminate the internet and stuff. And Spark, the main character, is sprung into action after he is no longer able to access his money that he got from Dr. Armstrong in the first game. So yes, Spark's main motivation for saving everybody is not because it's selfless, but simply because he wants his monetary gain. Anyway, there's not a lot of cutscenes in this game that detail the story, but there are a couple that are notable. One of them being the Protest City one after you get done beating the boss. It is revealed in the second phase of that boss that it is not Spark piloting that plane, but in fact a mysterious Formie that we come to know as Float. You know, the same Float from the second game, the robotic cyborg that we, kill. This Float, however, is confirmed to be the exact same one for the first game, just with an organic body now. This is indeed confirmed in Stratoria Interstellar's boss with the mech, where we are shown the backstory of Flint and Float as they, became friends. Once we finally beat Flint for the final time in Utopia Shelter, after we get to the end of it, we get the biggest bombshell and plot twist that I have ever seen in this game franchise. And that big twist is, Clarity won the war thousands of years ago, and that this whole playthrough of the game has simply been a simulation through Spark's mind. What had happened was, it was revealed that the Float that had been following you this entire time was just like Astra, a robot replica made to look like a Formie that had all of her memories in it. She was indeed another agent of Clarity that had been working for her the entire time. Once you brought her to the base of operations of the Fark Force, that was it. Clarity was able to assimilate everything into her mind and preserve it, just as she was programmed to do. This means that Spark's body had been destroyed years ago, and he is absolutely distraught at this information. Even though Clarity was able to assimilate the entire planet, Fark was the only one that she wasn't able to fully, absorb. And bit by bit, he is able to kind of absorb her power and use it for himself. Using this information, he comes up with the plan to overthrow her and take control of the assimilation. Long story short, Spark and Fark literally team up together by combining themselves, and they beat Clarity, freeing them from this tyrannical rule. And Spark is now put in charge of the simulation, and together they build a new world. Overall, I don't think that this story's ending is all that bad like I made it out to be, though it was something I was definitely not expecting. I can appreciate what lakefeperd was trying to go for, and for that, I definitely appreciate it. Although me personally, I would have liked to see a finale where Spark turns super again and defeats Clarity, but that's just personal preference. And with all that said, that is Spark Electric Jester 3, everybody. This game is simply a masterpiece. A game I plan on playing for many years to come, and ones that will be cemented as probably one of the best 3D platformers out there. Its creative and amazing style makes it stand out amongst even the most simple and bare bones platformers out there, and it is able to make itself stand out through its amazing fast-paced action platforming and its addicting and honorable gameplay. I am simply amazed at how far and impressive this small little indie franchise has been able to become. This final game in the trilogy has cemented Spark Electric Jester as being one of the best household 3D platformers, and the series as a whole is one that I have had the grand pleasure of being able to cover and analyze on this channel. The level of consistent quality and love that this franchise has been able to churn out is simply awe-inspiring to any future game developers, and lakefeperd should be proud of himself for creating such a masterful series. I am just truly in awe with how good Spark Electric Jester 3 is, and how a game like it can even exist in today's time. It takes all of the classical elements that we love from 3D platformers and perfects them to a T, as well as infusing its own unique identity and stylistic choices that the creator envisioned for this franchise. Sparky Electric Jester 3 represents the end to a journey, the journey of trial and error, and the brilliant process by which amazing art is created. From the epic music to the beautiful levels and the amazing gameplay, lakefeperd's up-and-coming masterpiece, Sparky Electric Jester 3, is an amazing experience that any fan of fast-paced platformers, any fan of tight combat systems, and any lover of just good video games will have the joy of playing. And with all that said, buy the game. It only costs $25 on Steam, and I assure you that it is well worth your money and time. With all that being said, I hope you all enjoyed this review, and I'll see you next time. Peace.